Ladies and gentlemen, wouldn't you know it, Donald Trump is suing over the erroneous and Selzer poll. He's been suing quite a few people. We saw George Stephanopoulos have to pay out $15 million for false claims. There's plenty of people that certainly seemingly could be liable for stuff like that. But yeah, this was a horrific poll, and Trump says it's election interference and fraud. The final Iowa poll was Harris +3, and the backstory to this is very interesting because another Democrat, J.B. Pritzker, apparently got his hand on the Iowa poll and was talking about it. So it's like, why would people within liberal circles know about this poll if it's legitimate? You've got Ann Selzer, very likely a manipulated poll. That's what we all said. We remember it came out, I think it was a Saturday night. The elections, it was either Friday night or Saturday night, with the election being on Tuesday. The timing of it was just crazy. Although, to be fair, I do think that Selzer, they do release their final poll right around the same time. But I'm going to let Trump say this, but just the backstory behind the whole poll is just crazy, considering how accurate Ann Selzer has been within a point in every election, every midterm. Like, it's scary. And to have a poll like that when everything says the opposite, when the voter registration from 2020 to 2024 is heavily leaning Republican, when Trump won the state by like 9 points and 8 points in 2016 and 2020, the 3-point lead is, I think there was something there. There was definitely something there. You're not that accurate and then that off just as like a random type of thing. If they investigated that, they'd find that this poll, I would imagine, would be totally manipulated in order to boost liberal morale. And that's why you had all the people like Rachel Maddow and all the liberals come out and say, and the thing is with Iowa, the other context is if Iowa is Harris +3, then she's winning the Rust Belt, right? Like, it's not just an Iowa thing. Like, oh, she's going to get 5 or 6 more electoral votes from Iowa. Well, no, it's the effect it would have, the ripple effect, because of Iowa, you would think Iowa as a Midwestern state is more conservative than a Pennsylvania, than a Michigan, than a Wisconsin. So that if she's winning that, then she has to be winning the Rust Belt. So there's like a ripple effect, and that allows liberals to kind of spin this narrative and boost morale within their own party. And you're just not going to see something like this where a pollster is so accurate time and time again, and then randomly they're off by like 17 points. It's very shocking.
I'm going to be bringing one against the people in Iowa, their newspaper, which had a very, very good pollster who got me right all the time. And then just before the election, she said I was going to lose by 3 or 4 points, and it became the biggest story all over the world because I was going to win Iowa by 20 points. The farmers loved me, and I loved the farmers. And it was interesting the way she did it. She brought it down 2 weeks before. She said I was going to only win by 4. That was a big story. But that was good because
So let me explain what he's saying. He's talking about Trump. He's saying that Ann Selzer said he was going to win by 4. That was actually like, I think, 2 months before the election. Originally, Selzer did a poll, Trump versus Biden. It was Trump +20 back in the summer before Biden dropped out. Then the first poll, I think the first poll she did with Trump versus Harris was like Trump +17, I want to say. And then she did another poll in September, and that was the Trump +4. And then that's when people started to get nervous, like, wow, Trump +4 in Iowa, that's not great in terms of the context of Trump winning the state by like 9 points in 2020, and the ripple effect it would have on the other states. And then the final poll, she didn't release anything until, and that's normally how they do it. But then she released the final poll, and that was the one that had Harris +3.
She brought it down from like 22 points to 4, or whatever the number was, way up. Way up, an easy win. We never even thought to go there. I respect them, I love them, and they understand there's no reason to go there because she brought it from way up, walk away, which it was, and it turned out to be in the election too, by the way. It was a win by many, many points.
13,
and then she brought it down very smartly to 4 a couple of weeks before, and everyone said, wow, that's amazing. He's only up by 4 points. Then she brought it down to where it was down by 3 or 4, whatever number she used. And that was the Des Moines Register, and it was their parent. And in my opinion, it was fraud, and it was election interference. You know, she's gotten me right always. She's a very good pollster. She knows what she was doing. And she then quit before. And we'll probably be filing a major lawsuit against them today or tomorrow. We're filing one on 60 Minutes, you know about that, where they took...
Well, 60 Minutes was really bad. I want to see what happens with 60 Minutes.
Kamala's answer, which was a crazy answer, a horrible answer. And they took the whole answer out and they replaced it with something else. She said,
and notice how they libs tried to swing that by saying, oh, you dumb conservatives. There's two different versions of 60 Minutes that gets released. There's one, the shorter version, and it's an intro. And then there's a longer 60 Minutes version. And they're like, well, they just cobbled those two together. No, they purposely manipulated the answer to try and make Harris seem more competent. They took her answer out and they replaced it with an entire different answer. Okay, that's what they did. And so we'll see what happens with 60 Minutes. But I mean, it's just all these people that hate Trump. They cheat against him, and then they say he's the one that's really bad, and it's all gaslighting. But yeah, when it comes to this, Des Moines, listen, you don't get every single midterm election year within a point, and then you're 15 points off. And it was the weird thing is you could realistically say like a poll in Iowa that has Trump up by 10 or 11. That's probably pretty realistic, and that would have been like 2 or 3 points wrong because Trump won Iowa, I think by 13 or whatever it was. But the idea that based off of all of the other polling in every other state, with the context of that, with the voter registration, with everything, the idea that you would release a poll that had Harris +3, if Harris was +3, we would be seeing polls in Pennsylvania that had Harris +7 or +8. We'd be seeing polls in Michigan that had Harris +7 or +8. None of that was happening. So it's such an outlier to where it's just not believable. And then, the poll circulated within liberal circles. They're like, yeah, let's really pump this out and get our dumbass supporters to believe it. And they're going to, it's going to get them all pumped up to go to the polls and vote. And it's going to demoralize Trump supporters. That's what J.B. Pritzker was saying. He's like having his morning breakfast. He's like, we got the new Selzer poll. It fluctuates in their circles because it was probably a manipulated poll. And that's what Trump is saying here, because it doesn't make sense. If you're going to be right every single year and then you're going to be 16 points wrong. Seriously. And then J.B. Pritzker is going to get it. All the liberal circles get it. They're like, we're going to push this, push it, get Matt out to push it, get the dumbass Scarborough to push it, get all of them. And they were all doing it. And so, yeah, listen, we'll see what comes of it, but it is interesting. We've also got Trump planning to roll out national voter ID law requiring ID for all 50 states and every election. He's going to need Congress to do this. It's likely. This likely cannot happen with an executive order, and it's just inexcusable. I mean, you want to talk look at all of the European countries, which are, by the way, more liberal than the United States, and they all have voter ID. And we would assume because of the fraud and because of the advantage liberals get in that, they still don't want to do it. And some of these states are going to resist it. And right now, voter ID is already a law in basically like all the pure Republican states. It's funny if you see a map of it, it's just the Republican states have voter ID and all the Democrat states have basically nothing. It's like California has nothing, and then it takes them like 3 weeks to count their election. Oh, that's great. I'm sure it's very legitimate. They've got no laws, and then it takes them like a month to count their election. Oh my God, another seat is flipped to the Democrats in the House. Yeah, that's just beautiful. I'm sure that's a really legitimate election going on there. Oh man. But listen, the thing is, you have to embarrass these people for not wanting voter ID, because that's an admission of guilt that they cheat if they don't want voter ID. And then they say, well, it's already secure. So then wouldn't you want to give the Republicans no excuse if they lose? If we have the voter ID, then they can't have an excuse. So if it's already secure, why wouldn't you want to make sure it's secure with the voter ID so then Republicans don't have an excuse and they trust the elections? It's because they know it's not really a thing. Like they argue it's already secure. They know it's not secure. The thing is, they don't want it to be secure. That's the whole point. But they have to sit there and argue this thing that it's just a pure lie. Like, oh, it's already secure. We don't need it. Well, then why does every European country, which is way more liberal than the United States, have it? How does that make sense? So yeah, there is that. And then we've also got Trump talking about the drones.
Can you comment on the drones that are flying around New Jersey ports? It seems like the American people have a big disconnect.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people, and they should, because the people are really, I mean, they happen to be over Bedminster.
Will you
Want to
shoot
know
them
the
down?
truth.
Why?
They're very close to Bedminster. I think
They're American. Trump's right. He's been briefed on this. So yeah, what he's saying is it's just classified. He can't really talk about it too much.
maybe I won't spend the weekend in Bedminster.
Have you
I've decided to cancel my trip.
Have you received an intelligence briefing on the drones?
I don't want to comment on that.
Have you been getting regular?
Well, it's all classified, but yeah, so it's obvious the government knows it. Whatever it ends up being, we'll see. I mean, there are theories floating out there. I've done a few videos on it. Maybe it's a dirty bomb. Maybe they're searching for some type of radioactive material or matter, and that might end up that might be what it ends up in terms of that. We've also got Kamala Harris just continuing to outdo herself in terms of this laugh is just like, it's like she knows the laugh is crazy, but she's trying to like ramp it up even more.
So look, the holiday season is one of my favorite times of year, that and my birthday. And our wedding anniversary, of course. Just gonna keep digging this hole deeper and deeper.
Yeah, we dodged a bullet. But guys, that is gonna do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.